shit. All right, man. Ready to do this?
Let's do it.
All right, here we are. Another episode of Grind My Gears. I got the formerly known as the Adonis. I don't know. He's the mullet
Just
man.
Dawn now. It's been shortened to Dawn.
Just the Don.
Just Dawn.
Aaron, Jeffrey, how you doing, brother? You good?
I'm good, man. How are you? It's been a while.
It's been a while, but yeah, I'm good. Living life. Just doing my
In the
thing.
bad life.
Don't get me started on that's another level. I love him, but Jesus Christ, that's another level. Like MMA is the grind. Dad life is the fucking grind.
I believe it, man. My brother's got 2 young ones too, so
Yeah.
I hear about it.
Yeah, man. But first, I wanted to congratulate you on your recent signing with Bellator MMA. That is a huge deal.
Thank you.
How do you feel about joining the ranks there?
I'm pumped, man. It's nice to finally be in a big promotion, like a promotion that's kind of well known and actually get paid some real money for once in my life.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, for people who don't know, for listening and who haven't been around MMA fighters, they don't know that when you're fighting on that regional circuit, the money's shit. The money is not the greatest. So, I mean, for guys like you who have put in a lot of time and effort, kudos to you for grinding that out, because
Thanks, bro.
at the end of the day, money talks, and with MMA, money does not talk, for sure.
No, we basically play for free, right? Like, I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years professionally for like 6 or 7 years, and I mean, you're lucky if you break even on your fights.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever broken. I've lost money. I don't know if you remember that my pro debut, the fucking guys, the check bounced. And,
Really?
For Global Proving Grounds. So I don't know, fuck that guy.
Yep.
And then it took about 7 or 8 months for him to send the money by Western Union, and Western Union takes like a 20-30% cut. So that that's just one story of, I bet, thousands.
Yeah. Well, the one time when I fought Sean Brady at CFFC and I had to go get stitched after, and I was supposed to have insurance through the company and not talk shit about CFFC because they're awesome and I love them, but the insurance wasn't going through and I was getting hospital bills. I had 7 stitches and I'm getting these hospital bills like week after week for like $1,000.
Yeah.
I got 7 stitches in my eye.
Yeah, and then they'll probably send you to collections and shit, and I mean, those are the horror stories that people never really hear about, but those are the things that go on. And like at the end of the day, paying $1,000 for stitches, like sometimes that's the fucking takeaway from the fight. Like that's all the profit.
Yeah, and then one time fighting for BTC because the Ontario medicals are so fucked, they make you do everything. I couldn't get an MRI in time, so I drove across the border to Buffalo to pay for an MRI, and that was $700.
Yeah, there you go. Like, and that's non-compensated. That's like out of your own pocket.
Yep.
You're not getting that shit back. It's not like you can claim that on your taxes as a business expense.
No.
Now that you're in the Bellator ranks, so the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is in that middleweight division. How does it feel being in a middleweight division with Yoel Romero? Like that is like when you think about that gorilla standing across, it's a potential.
I actually forgot that he was in Bellator now, so thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome.
I could be a matchup one day, yeah.
That's the first thing when I heard that you signed with Bellator. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this motherfucker might stand behind next to that gorilla, fucking Yoel Romero. Wild. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, there's some high-level guys there, man. Like Musasi's the champ. Lorenz Larkin's there. Like, there's a bunch of tough dudes.
Yeah, and how do you feel you stack up in that landscape with those guys?
I think good, man. I think like outside the top 10 and even like some of the lesser ranked guys in the top 10, I think I can beat a lot of these guys. Like you start talking about like Yoel Romero, Gegard Mousasi. Like obviously these are like really tough fights and they probably won't happen for a while. But no, the rest of the division, I think I stack up pretty well against them.
Yeah, and like your last fight against that, what was it Rex Harris? Was it
Rex
right?
Harris, yep.
Like tough fight. Like the first thing, like I always, whenever I see an opponent, like for some of the guys that I know, I'm like, gee, how stacked was he when you got in the cage? 'Cause he looked fucking stacked in the photos. Like
Yeah, he had a weird body type though, man. He like his arms and his chest and shit were like fucking huge. Obviously,
Yeah,
he had like a little skinny waist. He had like it looks like he had like a 26-inch waist.
yeah.
So he had like
Like
a build.
I saw the like the promo photos and all that kind of shit, and I'm like,
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, he's gonna go in there with a fucking like a an orangutan. But I mean,
yeah.
you're big and strong yourself, so like I'm never like worried about that. But like sometimes I had this conversation when I talked to Kyle Prep. Like sometimes you stand across from a guy and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, what am I
Fuck,
about?
why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I doing
And then when you get your hands on him, you're like, oh, okay, it's not so bad. But like that first,
this? Oh man, yeah.
there's like 30 seconds when you see the guy like flex his pec, and you're like, oh fuck, what the fuck is
Fuck. Do you remember when I fought fucking way back in the amateur days? Tim Bean Blossom was the guy's name.
Yeah. I remember that one.
Short fucking jack dude too, like a similar build to Rex Harris. And I smashed him too.
How do you feel when you do you still get like a little bit of intimidation by physicality anymore, or is that kind of thing in the past?
Um, I don't know, man. It's funny. You always like. It seems like it should be like an amateur fighter thing to
Yeah.
like talk about how the guy looked at weigh-ins, but people still do it, man. I'm fucking 14 professional fights in, and like you still do it at the weigh-ins. Be like, oh, he looks kind of soft, or he looks tucked down, or he's not as big as I thought he was going to be. Like, guys still say it.
Yeah, I think it's because it's the psychology of the sport. I think it's like you're trying to find any chink in the armor to give yourself
Exactly.
a psychological or physical edge, and sometimes like it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Like I
Yeah.
remember the last guy I fought when we watched his tape, he was fucking fat, and we were like, oh, okay, we'll take this fight. He's fat.
Yeah.
Then he
Yeah.
fucking showed up to the weigh-in, he just chiseled the shit. I'm like, ah, Jesus
Yeah. Like,
Christ.
guy got his diet under control
Yeah,
now.
got his diet under control just to fight me, you know.
Yeah.
So anything coming up for Bellator yet, or is it still it's still all new, so it's still in the works?
Yeah, it's still in the works, still looking. They were trying to get me on a card in Paris, actually, May 6th. I don't know if that's happening anymore, so just waiting to hear.
Well, we might be in a war by then, so you may not be able to
Yeah, that's
fight.
what I'm thinking. I don't really want to fly over that. I know it's like a totally different part of Europe and whatever, but
Yeah,
I don't really want to fly that way.
I mean, given that, I mean, I want like that's another topic we can touch, even though I wasn't planning on it. Like, what do you think about different? Like, it's not happening in MMA yet, and I hope it doesn't come here. But like, given this crisis that's happening with this war, and there, I feel like it's unfairly targeting some Russian athletes. Like they have nothing to do with what's going on.
Yeah, I
And
heard they like banned some athletes from something maybe the Olympics or
yeah,
something. I don't know what I heard.
and I mean, Olympics is one thing because they were fucking juicing to the gills for the Olympics.
Yeah,
But I mean, other sports they're kind of ridiculing Russian athletes, and I don't agree because they, to be quite honest, they don't have fucking anything to do with what's going on.
yeah.
So I mean, it's not it's a political issue, but what do you feel about that? And I'm hoping it doesn't spread into MMA where MMA guys lose fights, and because like we were just talking about, money's tight for a lot of fighters.
Hmm. Hmm.
So losing a fight based on something that the president of your fucking country is doing, it seems
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, man. It's all political shit, I guess, right? Like, I don't know what they think that's going to accomplish. Like, Putin's not going to stop doing what he's doing because some of his athletes can't compete somewhere. I don't think he
yeah.
gives a shit about that. So, yeah, it doesn't make much sense.
It seems to me it's just some bunch of virtue signaling stuff because I know like Peter Yan. He's having trouble getting his corner to the states to corner him for a big title fight. I mean, like these are situations. Like I understand what's going on, but these are they're athletes. They're competing. Like this is it shouldn't be that way, but it's kind of crossing over to that way. And I mean, I hope that like bigger organizations like Bellator that you're fighting in now actually get some of the athletes out of there
Hmm.
beforehand to save
Yeah,
those
for
fights.
sure, for sure.
Like if, for example, if you're gonna fight some Russian guy from Russia, like fly his ass out 2 months before to make sure he's,
I'm sure he's getting there exactly.
yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, it affects the North American guys too, right? Like if those guys
Yeah,
can't fight.
yeah. If Buddy doesn't show up on fight week, then there goes my paycheck too, because they're probably not finding someone to fill in on
Yeah,
short notice.
And I mean that's happened to you a bunch of times too. At the
Hmm.
so I mean you're used to it, but it sucks. It sucks
Hmm.
balls as hell.
Yep. Sucks for
Uh,
everyone.
Now you were able to train and fight a lot during the pandemic, which is
Hmm.
really hard for a lot of people. And I think like a lot of people would love to know how you were able. Like I know you did a lot of traveling. You got the fuck out of Canada because of what was going on here with the lockdowns and all that
Hmm.
bullshit. But how
Hmm.
did you manage to compete so frequently, compete at a very high level, do very well, given the fact that in Canada, where you're from, where you live, you can do shit, or at least it was hard enough to do shit, right?
Hmm. I think I just got lucky, man. Like we kept getting fight offers and kept saying yes to them. I think a lot of people when this shit first went down too were like, they had the wrong impression of what travel was actually like. Like when my first fight during the pandemic happened, I went to Miami, and it
Yeah,
was like a few months after all the lockdown stuff started, so like no one was traveling at all.
yeah.
And you go to the airport, and like no one gave a shit. Like going through the airport was still totally normal. Like when I came back, there was a quarantine, so that was new. But to go anywhere was like there was no restrictions. Like shit was closed and whatever, but they weren't stopping you from going anywhere. So it was actually fairly easy. But yeah, I think I just got lucky in terms of like getting fights during all this stuff.
Were you able to keep up training? I mean, I know you went to the States. You're in Las Vegas for a while,
Yeah,
preparing. But when you were at home, did you find it difficult? I know you guys have a close knit group down
yeah,
where you are, but still, was it a little bit difficult having to sneak around to kind of get into places to just to do your job?
yeah. That was actually the biggest hassle was just the training. Like we had bylaw officers like calling the gym and shit all the time and trying to shut us down. Actually, one day somebody left the door unlocked when we were having like one of our private training sessions, and this bylaw chick came down and like started taking notes and like was about to write up some tickets and shit. We had like 30 fucking shirtless, sweaty guys down in the basement gym. I've never seen the place clear out so fast. And she came down and like someone's like, "Oh, that's bylaw," and everyone was out of there in like fucking 2 minutes. It was wild.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you still got it done. You still were able to prepare, but I can't imagine it was easy. And then you took off for Las Vegas, right? For
Yep.
a lot of those fights.
Yep.
How was the training down there? Where were you at there? You were at
Syndicate.
Syndicate. How was
Yeah.
I know they have a big room there with a lot of high school guys.
Hmm.
How did that room kind of compare to getting ready for your fights that you had?
It was good, man. I actually didn't plan on staying that long down there either. I was gonna go for like a month or two, and then like I had to apply for a work visa. So then this process is going on. You're not allowed to like travel country borders with that. So I ended up staying the whole time. But it was sick, man. I've been there once before, a few years back, and made some connections. And I wanted to go somewhere for that Contender Series training camp. So I went back there, and yeah, it was awesome. Like you said,
Yeah.
a lot of high level guys in that room.
Well, yeah, a lot of high level guys and definitely pushing you, and to, I mean, the bonus part about that is they're all getting ready for UFC, Bellator, ONE FC fights as well. So they're all pushing themselves at the same time. It's not like you were going there and you're the only one getting ready, right?
Exactly,
Which happens in Canada a lot of the times, where
for
like
sure.
you're the only one in the room that has a fight, which kind of
Yeah,
it sucks because then you got to get guys to push you, but they're not pushing themselves, so it
the
kind of
energy's not the same.
yeah, it's not the same energy, but I mean, at a gym like that, I can guarantee the energy is 100% all the time. Do you almost have to scale yourself back sometimes from overtraining in a place like that?
Yeah, and especially considering I was down there for like 5 or 6 months with my fight book, like it was the longest training camp ever. They scheduled it really far in advance for that Contender Series fight. So, yeah, that like I had to take a few weekends off and shit to not overdo it. Another cool thing about Vegas is that because it's right by the UFCPI and there were so many fights going on there, like
Yeah,
during the pandemic, they were just hosting it all there. There's so many guys coming in and out that need a gym for like a few weeks, like they're from out of country or just from further away, so they come into Vegas and they're just looking for a gym to train at for a few weeks. So you get like a lot of guys coming in and out and different bodies and stuff, which is cool
and I know like your experience, but did you get a little starstruck a couple times when some of those guys walked in?
for sure. Biggest one was Cowboy.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
you did some sparring with him.
yeah, I tried Cowboy for Run. You know, dude, the way I met him was actually so funny too. He thought I was Mike Pyle at first because Mike Pyle had a mullet back in the day.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Yeah, he came up behind me and like smacked me on the ass, and I turned around and he's like, "Oh, you're not Mike Pyle. I thought you were Mike Pyle." And he got so fucking weird about it and like wouldn't talk to me for the next 20 minutes. And he like finally warmed up to me, and we ended up sparring. But no, he was like super weirded out at first.
When you started sparring, you were like, "Holy fucking shit! I'm fucking sparring with Cowboy shit."
Yeah,
And then you get hit once, you're like, "Okay, this is real. I gotta fucking."
yeah, it was pretty cool, man.
And he's a cool guy. I'm assuming he's just a
Yeah,
really, yeah, like
really chill
he's
dude. Yeah,
as advertised, like how he is in the media is how he is in real life.
exactly,
Right? Yeah.
exactly.
And so Las Vegas, you think that's like home away from home for you in terms of preparation now?
Um, I don't know. Yeah, I got a lot of connections there, and like me and my girl stayed at an Airbnb, and we made good friends with the host, and she became like a mother to us down there, with like cooking food for us and stuff all the time. So that was cool. But I was just down in Florida for a few weeks, and I feel
Yeah.
like I have another home there too, and it's closer, and now I have some connections there. So
Yeah, you were training with Hoofs guys at Sanford, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's another beast of a room too.
for sure. Yeah.
They have a lot of
So
more Brazilians there too, don't they?
yeah, a lot of Brazilians, just a lot of guys in general. Like same with Vegas, man. I think they have like 200 pro fighters or something on their team. I heard.
Yeah, that's a fucking lot of guys.
Yeah,
That's one of those rooms where you don't stand out from the crowd. You kind of just you're
yeah,
just
exactly.
yeah
That's the thing about these big rooms too. You're not going to get a lot of like one-on-one coaching, really.
yeah.
Like you're just a number in the room, right? Unless you're like one of the top guys or you've been there since the beginning or whatever, you just don't get the same attention.
Yeah, so you feel like it's good to get out there and get the rounds in with those high level guys, but still, it's kind of better to be back with your crew
Yeah,
in Niagara with Prickett and all those guys, just
yeah,
getting those
exactly.
the details right.
The skill development. Like I can develop my skills so much better here. Like I can do the work that I need to do. I work on things that I need to work on. My coach is like doing directed shit with me. And I can go down there and get some hard rounds and fucking bash heads with some guys, see
Yeah,
where the holes in my game are or see what's working well for me, then come back
and
and
then
kind
come
of fix
back and.
things up.
Are you used to that travel life now, like going back and forth? Do you like it, or is it something that you kind of could do without, but you just do it because?
No, I like it. I like going to different places, meeting people. I definitely like getting the fuck out of Canada during the winter. That's a
Yeah,
big plus.
well, getting the fuck out of
Um,
Canada in general right now,
in
just
general now. Yeah.
yeah.
It can be exhausting. Like I've been actually pretty much living out of a suitcase for like the past few years. Like I don't even unpack it anymore. Like
Yeah.
I'm in Niagara right now. I've been to Florida. I've been to Vegas. I go to my mom's on weekends, which is like a few hours away from here. So I'm kind of like all over the place all the time. So it can be exhausting, but I like it at the same time.
Well, I mean, you're still young and you're in your prime of your career, so like I mean, if you're gonna do shit like that, it's time to do it, right?
Yeah,
Whereas,
exactly.
like once you settle down like my ass, you're pretty much. I only can.
Yeah.
I can't travel to train anymore. I gotta stay in the
You're
same
not,
fuck.
you're not road tripping to Vegas with your kid in the car, probably.
Oh fuck no, no way. I'm lucky now. I only have to watch them once a week, so on those days I'll take them to the gym.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sometimes like just getting my kids to the gym is fucking exhausting. Like,
Yeah,
and then I gotta get my ass bashed in by some of the killers that
yeah,
I'm fucking training with. Uh,
yeah,
and then I'll get home and I'll have plans to like do other shit during the day. And I'm like, no, I'm fucking done. By 2 o'clock, I'm
done.
wasted. So,
Yeah,
yeah, hold off on the kids if that's not part of the plan. Because if you plan on traveling, it's not happening. I
yeah,
gotta, I gotta go just to North York, and I'm fucking dying from that travel. So, like,
yeah.
but when you were on Contender Series, I know you had two tough guys that you had to compete against. Two very, I think both of them are in the UFC, correct?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I thought it, and this is, and it's because I'm your friend and I like you a lot. But I thought it was very unfair how they were kind of the media was kind of hating on you a little bit after that last one.
Hmm.
Like the one of the articles I was reading how they were talking about you lost the decision and they're like, oh, he might not get it. Like his chances are over. How did you
hmm
feel like about that kind of like? I feel like it's coming from people who don't really know the sport, don't really know you as an athlete, don't really know your journey
hmm
and what you've been through to get to those points. How did you feel like? And did you ignore them? How did you feel when you kind of see that kind of negative kind of press that's coming your way with that kind of stuff?
For the sport, man, I mean, it's gonna suck no matter what. Like, you can try and brush it off. I mean, maybe you can mostly brush it off, but I think it'll get to you a little bit no matter what. I mean, if you want to get to the highest level, that's only going to get worse, right? Like, I'm still basically a nobody in this sport, like doing nothing really, and there's this media about me. So, like, imagine being like Conor McGregor when you're on top of the world
Yeah.
and like you lose a few fights, and it's like fucking what I experienced times a million. So, it's just something you got to deal with.
Do you like look at the comments or any of that kind of shit and engage, or do you kind of just like let it go now, or just kind of keep
Uh,
your
No, I actually like responding to people on Instagram. Like after Contender Series, I responded to every single message I got, and it was like it must have been like close to 1,000 messages. Like it took me a few days to get through it all.
yeah
Um, and there's some haters that are like, "You're a fucking bum. I don't know who's telling you you're good at this shit. Like you're not. Like you gotta
yeah
listen to somebody else. Like quit the sport now while you're ahead." I don't know. I think it's funny to reply to it. Most of them are just trolls, and they'll be like, "Oh shit, man, I didn't think you were gonna can
gonna
reply."
respond?
Like all jokes, man. Like respect and whatever.
Yeah,
So it's funny when you get those replies too.
yeah. And does it? I mean, does it get to you a little bit, or does it kind of like at this point, are you kind of like brushing off because you know it's just part of the game?
It's just part of the game, man. Just haters. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like Joe Rogan's like, don't pay attention to the comments, but I have to fucking engage in the comments sometimes too.
Yeah,
Because like
yeah.
after my last
Oh,
fight, I had a few people message me like, I saw your fight on TV. Good luck. Like fuck you. You're not gonna do that to other guys.
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, thanks for the reply, but like,
yeah.
I must be doing something. Or like, you must be doing something right if you took time out of your fucking day to hate on me. So, now that you're back home and you're kind of chilling and you've had time to digest Canada and its landscape, and how do you feel like over the last 2 years because of the pandemic and I mean basically fights haven't been happening in Canada at all, basically just a few here or there. How do you feel like the for someone like you who wants to or is in that prime position, how do you feel like the Canadian landscape of MMA got affected by the pandemic? Do you think it was overall negative, or do you think there's a bounce back in terms of guys being able to compete and build their way up after the 2 years?
Well, there's definitely a bounce back happening right now. Like BTC being active again. Montreal Fight League, like the amateur show in Quebec, is having fights again. I think there's one out east that's happening and a few out west. So this is good. I mean, it's coming back right now for sure. Um, Definitely sucks for a lot of the guys during those 2 years that weren't able to fight. Like I said, I got super lucky and I had a bunch of fights. Like it was probably one of the most active times of my career.
Yeah,
So I'm lucky, and I mean, like selfishly, it didn't really affect my life that much. Like I was still training and fighting and like doing my normal shit. So to me, it was like fucking annoying to see this stuff, but it didn't affect me that much that I really cared to the extent of some other people.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, man, it's good to see it's coming back. Tough for some of the guys, but like hopefully they were just training and getting better during that time, and now they're gonna get some fights in.
yeah. Do you feel like it possibly hurt? Like the professional level is what it is. Like you know, at least guys are getting paid, so they'll take a fight wherever the fuck they want. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
maybe it kind of hurt the amateur ranks a lot more.
100%.
I think that it set back the sport at least 3 years in terms of getting quality amateurs. Because what I don't know if you noticed this, I was noticing that a lot of the shows that were popping up during the pandemic or like between the lockdowns and stuff, in order to fill the cards, they were kind of getting amateurs licensed and just getting them in there just to kind of get the shows going. Whereas some of them may not have necessarily been ready to
Mm-hmm.
fight professionally yet, and they needed, when you need those one or two more amateur fights just to kind of turn the corner,
Mm-hmm.
where it's not there anymore. And then for the other guys that were 18, 19, 20, maybe had one or two. Now they've been off for 3 years. Do you see that being a problem in a few years?
Probably. I mean, like our talent pool is already pretty small in Canada, right? Like our population's just not there. We don't have the amount of people that it takes to like have the same like sports talent pool as they do in the States. So I don't know. It's going to be impossible to say, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we weren't doing big things before. Now it's going to be even worse. But I guess we'll never really know.
Yeah. Are you looking to possibly? I mean, does Bellator do many shows in Canada anymore? They don't do many shows here. They
I
used
don't know,
to.
man.
They
I
used to
don't know.
do. I remember I went to one in Windsor. They did one in Windsor at the
Oh,
casino
really? Dude,
way
that'd be
way back.
sick. I hope so.
I know, but I mean, is that one of your goals to fight in like your hometown for a big promotion?
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. I think it'd be awesome even to have UFC back here and just like bring more attention to the sport again.
I don't think they're coming back here for a
Never,
while.
right?
Well, look at the hoops you have to jump through just to
Yeah,
fly over. I
yeah.
mean, Dana's a smart guy. So is Scott, your new boss. They're both
Hmm.
smart guys. To hold a show in anywhere that's giving any kind of problems for just regular civilians to get into,
Hmm. Hmm.
good luck getting like I know BTC had
Yeah,
a
because there's
couple.
still quarantine and shit too, right?
There's the quarantine and shit. Certain venues. I mean, like you live in Ontario. You know, like okay, they dropped the vax passes, but certain places are still allowed to quote
Hmm.
enforce it on themselves. So
Hmm.
like now you have to import guys, fly guys over, get visas. Like
Hmm.
for even for big organizations like the UFC or Bellator, like the money that's wasted to kind of do that,
And just headache.
it's a headache. So like
Yeah.
why would they even do that? Like I know Bellator does a lot of work in the UK, so I mean
Hmm.
and the UFC just had a big show out in the UK on the week yesterday. So I mean that's possible, but I don't. Canada seems like because of the way we handled shit, I don't think we're gonna get anything for a long time.
Hmm.
And if we do, it's gonna be so restrictive. It won't even. I mean, it'll be fun.
Yeah, and even like the draw for them here is probably not the same. Like they go to UK and that place is fucking wild. It's jam packed with these like UK hooligans that are like screaming and going nuts. I don't think it's the same in Canada.
No, it's not the same here. I mean, were you at the first UFC that came here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there, and that was fucking electric when
Hmm.
in the Rogers Center. And I've been to subsequent shows, and only if there's a local guy on the car, you'll feel some energy in the crowd, but it's just not the same as it was when it popped on the scene.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know why. Do you think it's just that's just Canada for you in terms of MMA?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a good question. And maybe it's just because there's no GSP anymore. I don't know. He was like the big guy that everyone wanted to watch. We don't have like the Canadian superstar anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Now you bring that up, that could be the thing. But at the same time, GSP wasn't like he wasn't the most vocal guy.
No.
He was just the best guy, and he just happened to be from Canada, and
Hmm.
he was the most dominant guy at the time. So, and then it was like the perfect storm. There was illegal in Canada for the longest time, and then they legalized it, and he just happened to be the best guy. So I don't know
Hmm.
if you present the same GSP now with the same circumstances, you would get the same reaction
Yeah.
because you have guys. I mean, look at Conor McGregor. He changed the game in terms of how entertainment value is put on that.
Hmm.
Does that ever motivate? Now that you're moving up into the big, you want to get a little bit more entertaining with the mullet style and kind of bring more attention to it that way. Or, like
Yeah,
I know you're not
I
much
think,
of a big talker, but do you think that
yeah,
that's
exactly. Yeah, you know me. I'm like a pretty soft-spoken guy. I'm definitely not going to be like talking shit on camera or anything. And I just did this like mullet mustache thing for a joke, and it kind of like caught some steam. And now it's like the Bellator website has like the silhouette of the guy with like the mullet and the mustache. So I'm like, fuck it, man. I guess I'll
just
ride this out while I can.
roll with the punches, take it, because you never know.
Yeah,
That's some you might get some hair product sponsorships deals
yeah.
coming down the pipeline. Uh,
Fucking mustache wax.
and that was just you just did it for fun, huh?
Yeah. I was like growing my hair, like everyone was doing like kind of the COVID quarantine hair or whatever,
Yeah,
and I was growing it out. And then I actually took like a few weeks off out of the gym during that time. And then I came back, and my hair was bugging me so much during training. And I was like, I kind of like the flow though, so I want to have flow, but it's like in my face all the time. So like, I'll do a fucking mullet for a bit, and
yeah.
then I ended up fighting right after, and it was like all they talked about. They called me like Trailer Park Trudeau or some shit on the mic.
Oh man, you don't even want to be associated with that guy anymore.
I
Jesus
know, I know.
fuck. That's the worst comparison now. Like maybe
He's
like
look,
five
he's
years
like
ago.
fucking yeah. Back in the day, man, people used to say I look like him so much.
No, I don't see it. I don't see it. But I
No,
mean,
not
maybe
anymore.
it's because I like you and I fucking hate that guy.
Yeah,
So maybe that's what it is. But no, I mean, just ride it. I say ride that fucking mullet till it dies, bro. Because you never know who's watching, and somebody might be
yeah,
like, "Hey, sign me
yeah,
up. Let's sign this guy up.
yeah,
Just go knock Yoel Romero out, fucking King Kong his ass, and then
yeah.
there you go." Now,
Jeffrey's fun.
now that you're in that deep pool, that deep talent pool, I know kind of the news just set in, you kind of just signed, but has it kind of sunk in that you're now among some of the most elite guys in the world?
Um, yeah. I mean, I don't know. You don't really think about it that much, right? Like your career goes in like incremental steps, kind of. So like you never really sit back and like look at the big picture. I guess like this is a bigger step comparatively than other steps in the career, but I don't know, man. Shit happens fast. You never really sit down and smell the roses. You kind of just keep moving along and keep doing what you're doing.
But I mean, now that you are there, like I want to know. I want to know how does it feel to like I'm telling you, you're part of the fucking elite bunch now. Like you
Yeah.
are one or two fights away from competing against the likes of Gegard Mousasi, Yoel Romero, Lorenz Larkin, and that's to name a few. They have Korshkov too. Hell, fucking Douglas Lima might be on the list for you as well. Like
Yeah.
those are legitimate top fucking guys. Arguably, some of them are like I know the pound for pound lists only kind of take into account the UFC, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
stupid. But you know, the guy that you're chasing right now, in my opinion, is pound for pound top five in the world,
Mm-hmm.
if not even more. Like, let that sink in. How does it feel to be among that group now?
Scary, but it's cool. Crazy, man. Like you're like we talked about fucking these guys that we fought like in our pro debuts or amateur fights, like some fucking bum that had like two fights and never fought again, and like who is he now? And now we're talking about Gegard Mousasi. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
it's
we started
crazy.
amateur around the same time too, and
Yeah.
we fought on the same card well, for a while too. I mean, I remember that. Who was that guy you fought? There was a remember that card we had that card where you fought that guy with a bunch of fucking tattoos. He had
He had
like
the tap out tattoo.
yeah, yeah,
His mom, or no, it wasn't him. It was a different fight. Some guy's mom climbed into the
yeah,
cage,
yeah, yeah,
and it went viral.
and I got sick. Remember, and I had diarrhea. I had diarrhea the day of the fight, and
I remember he was pissing nonstop and like pissing right before he walked out
yeah,
for one fight.
and then no, I was sick because I had cut weight in the tub. Because for everyone that doesn't know what it's like to hang out with this fucking guy on Fight Night, let me tell you what it's like. This fucking guy watches Food Network all the fucking time. He watches Food Network all the
Yeah.
fucking time while you're cutting weight, and you like I'm like dying, and this guy just watching Food Network. But what ended up happening was I cut all the weight, and then I'm a dumbass, so I didn't realize you should probably put the food that you travel with, in the fridge. So I ate my last meal and then went to bed,
Yeah.
and it was bad. And so I woke up and I was fucked up. And then thankfully I ended the fight in like 27 seconds. But then you came up to me like, dude, did you have to take a shit? I'm like, no, I just he just put his head there. And then
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, you're like, because you thought I just fucking went for the choke because I had to get out. I had to. I'm like,
yeah.
no, I didn't have to take a shit, but he just put his head there. Finish it. Thank
That's
God.
fucking funny. I remember
Yeah, and then you ended up fucking torturing that guy in like 2 minutes, right?
that.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Half of the tattoos. Yeah,
those are fun nights. And then yeah, that was the other thing. The kid's mom jumped over the cage. She got choked
yeah,
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't
I
even
bet
see
that's
that.
still on YouTube, man. You can find on YouTube, like, if you type in, like, MMA fighter's mom jumps in the cage, it's probably still there.
Yeah, and we didn't know anything about that until like the night after. We're like, "What?
Yeah.
Really? That happened?" Because we were in the
Yeah.
hotel room warming up, and that was a pretty decent venue where the hotel was right next into the same place. But
It was in the exact same place, right?
yeah, yeah, you just walk from your
That's
hotel
sick. That's
to the
so
warm
sick.
up.
Yeah.
Uh, how do you like now that you've done so many high level fights now? When you make that travel from where you're staying to the venue, that now that you've fought in so many so much in a higher profile fights, is that when the nerves kick in, or is it more when you kind of walking out?
Um, I'd say like all through fight week, you get like the moments of the nerves. Right? Like there's some nights where you're in bed and you're starting to fall asleep and you start thinking about the fight and you get some anxiety and then you're like up for a bit at night. But I'm usually pretty good until like the warm up.
Yeah.
Like going to the venue and shit. I'm usually still like pretty chill, like joking around with the guys and shooting the shit and whatever. It's like when you're wrapping up and getting warm and whatever. That's when it really starts.
Start sinking in that you're about to do something fucking stupid, and
Yeah,
yeah.
well, you can fight another man.
And you're so experienced at this game now, but I mean, I like to ask this because every guy's regimen is different. How do you manage to split everything up? Because like we got the jiu-jitsu, we got the MMA, we got the grappling, the wrestling. Um, Now that you've reached this level, how have you been able to tune into like those things that you need and the things that you need to work on? And so, what does a typical week for Aaron Jeffery kind of look like for someone that wants to know?
Um, Good question. Well, so we have our pro practices consistently every day at 11 a.m. Monday is like hard wrestling. Tuesday is striking. Wednesday is jits. Thursday is sparring. Friday is striking again. Um, and then Saturday is usually sparring again too at BTC. Evenings vary, like maybe depending on how I'm feeling. Like if I'm super banged up, I probably don't want to like wrestle hard again, so I'll do like pads or striking drilling or bag work or something. But usually it's like the morning session's the hard one. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours drilling, and then usually live work. And then the evenings are usually like pads or drilling or bag or something like that.
Yeah.
But usually it's 10, 11 sessions a week, like 3 to 4 hours a day.
So you're still doing doubles even on your off times?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
year round, pretty much. Yeah.
Do you find your body kind of just responds to it now, or do you find you get worn out a little bit at certain times?
Um, I mean, I'm always fucking worn out. Like I'm tired constantly. I just assume that's like normal for someone that's getting in fist fights every day.
Yeah.
I think I train more than most guys. That's what they tell me, that they can't keep up my volume or how you training so much or whatever, this kind of shit. Yeah, I guess you get used to it, or maybe you don't really get used to it, but you get used to feeling like shit all the time. That's probably me.
Yeah, you're used to that fucking beat up feeling. So like
Yeah.
when you feel good, you're like, shit, something's wrong.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, like
more
what?
tired.
I should be sore in this spot. Why the fuck is it I'm not sore?
It's like
Uh,
having kids, right? You don't really get used to it. You just get used to the feeling of being fucking exhausted all the time.
Pretty much, dude. And then
Yeah.
like my I've had a lot like the last month has been really rough. I had to actually scale back on some of the gym stuff because my son he has full body eczema. So like he'll itch and he won't sleep. And so
Mm,
and like you'll be like falling asleep and or I'll be already asleep because I take fucking CBD and I'm high and I'm fucking out. But like
mm,
this is how annoying it is. Like you'll be out. Like I'm fucking like if you've ever been high and you know what it's like to sleep, like normal people sleep fucking through that. But my son
mm.
was like, that fucking terrible sound, like constantly. And so like like for the last month, I've been like there was one weekend we slept for like 3 hours, like we couldn't sleep for,
Fuck.
and so I like when though like that's a special situation though, like
Yeah.
it is what it is. But how do you manage the recovery part of your game now that at this stage in your career?
Um, I sleep and I eat a lot. That's pretty much it. I mean, I get like pretty consistently 9 hours a night. I'd say 3 or 4 times a week. I take a nap during the day for like an hour, so that's a lot of sleep. I eat like between 4 and 5,000 calories a day. So that's a lot of food.
Yeah,
I sauna. My mom has a sauna at her place, so I'll sauna a couple times a week and like stretch in the sauna and shit. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Eating, sleeping, stretching.
that's living the fighter's life right there. And
Good man.
I know you've been pretty blessed with your career, not having too many major injuries. Like I know you've had some knee stuff in the past, but
Mm,
nothing major where you've had to actually take significant
mm,
amounts of time off.
no.
Um, like how like that's something like somebody like myself, I fucking get broken every 2 seconds. I
Mm,
think a lot of people want to know how are you able to do what you do at such a high level with such a high volume and still stay in one piece and relatively for most part not have to take significant amount of time
mhm.
off for injuries.
I don't know, man. Probably good genetics. Like my coaches will always say shit too. Like you should maybe dial it back a bit. You're getting worn down. You're gonna maybe get hurt. I always say I think like the sport, a big part of it's luck. If you're the guy that can fucking push through and like not blow out his knee, then you can be the guy that makes it through the top. If you're the guy that when he pushes hard, he blows out his knee, that sucks. And sorry for you, but I guess you're not that guy.
So basically, you cue it up to, you take care of yourself, you do what you have to do, and it is what it is. If it happens, it happened. If it doesn't, it doesn't, right?
That's
Yeah.
it. And I have fucked up my knees a couple times, like nothing serious, like you said, never like significant amount of time off, but had like some grade two tears and been out of the gym for like a couple months at a time. So I think it will happen to everyone. It's just like mitigating it as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it is like I mean, I'm sure you know my story where like sometimes shit just pops, and
Hmm.
I truly like what you just said there. Truly, to me, makes the most sense. Genetics fucking count for shit because like
For sure.
when I kind of evaluate my fucking family timeline, the only professional thing they should be doing is playing professional dominoes and beer drinking, right? Right. So like that has a big part to play in it. But at the same time, you do all the right things. I know you're heavily into nutrition
Hmm.
and what you're eating, and you're very careful about that. How much does that play into when you're cutting? Like I know you don't have to necessarily bring people in for that process because you've got that background from school, right?
Hmm. Yeah, dude, my cut's super easy. I mean, I also went up a weight class early in my career, so like a lot of guys are asking me all the time, like, what's the secret? How do you cut weight so easy? I'm like, go up a weight class, man. That's gonna save you the most trouble. More than any dietary advice I could give you, go up a weight class, and that's gonna fucking save you a lot of work. I'm still like I walk around like 200 pounds as a middleweight. I'm not like huge for the weight class, but it is still somewhat of a weight cut. But no, I pretty much got it down to a science. And I do my like 5 week diet, and it gets me right down to like I'll wake up on weight. I'll maybe sweat a pound. Last time I sweat 1 pound, and then I came in 1 pound under, so I didn't really have to. And then fight night will be back up to 200 pounds again.
So do you try to make sure that you're in that certain range so that you don't have to do too much work when time comes, or is it kind of something where your body's kind of settled into that weight?
A bit of both. Like I could definitely get up to like 210 if I wanted to. If I just like ate like shit or ate nonstop or like cut back on my training a bunch, I would put on some pounds for sure. But no, I'm pretty careful about my diet year round.
Yeah, I mean you have that significant nutritional background, right? That has to come into play. You find like a lot of guys are coming to you for help now to kind of hone in on that kind of that part of the game?
Um, a little bit. Fighters, not so much. I don't know. Like I have some guys tell me like, oh, I don't want to bug you. I know you're training too, so I don't want to like reach out. I don't know if you're taking clients. So not that many fighters. More of my clients are like kind of recreational gym goers, like people that want to lose a few pounds and whatever.
Yeah, and that's something that you're super passionate about. And is that what like I know like it's shitty to ask fighters about this, like what's your plans for the future? Like what do you want to do? But like when when it's all written in the book and when you've done your last one, where do you see yourself in terms of what do you want to do with your life and your career and your experiences after that?
Yeah, I would love to do that because I've been kind of doing it alongside fighting the whole time. Like worked in a weight loss clinic while I was like fighting professionally, and now I've opened my own business, I have my own clients. So yeah, I would love if I could grow that to the point where that's like self-sustaining and I can just do that full time after fighting.
Yeah, and I mean you're super passionate about it, so I'm sure it doesn't really it's second nature to you, right?
Exactly,
And
exactly.
the one of the other things I wanted to ask you about is your strength and conditioning routine. Now, if we look at Aaron Jeffery in the cage, he's fucking ripped. Now we know you're doing all your MMA training and stuff, but how does the maintenance work in terms of your strength and conditioning come into play now at this point that you've gone to this point in your career?
Yeah, maybe you're gonna hate me for saying this because you're a trainer and I know you do a lot of
Yeah.
the shit. But I don't do anything. Then I don't touch weights at all anymore.
No, no, it's
Nothing.
not a part of the game. I don't hate you for it. For some guys it works, some guys it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right?
The only time I will is like if I was at home on quarantine after one of my fights, I got like a fucking 50-pound kettlebell that I'll swing around because I'm at home bored. But like right now, training twice a day, I don't do weights at all.
So do you find that that's helped you, or like does your body deteriorate because you're not doing it, or like
I don't know. It's hard to say because like it's impossible to compare. I mean, I could start lifting weights 50 times a week and see how I feel if I feel any different. But I don't know, man. I don't feel like I need it. Like I never feel weaker than anyone in the cage. I don't feel like I need
yeah,
to do a ton of strength work. Obviously, like people are always mentioning my gas tank, so I don't think conditioning is a big thing. Um, People talk about injury prevention. I'm not really getting injured, so I don't know. I don't see the need for it. If I
yeah,
can add another like skill development session instead of a weight session, I think that's more beneficial for me right now.
yeah? And did you used to have it as a part of your game, or did and then you just kind of dropped it out, or like how did that kind of this formula that you have now come to fruition?
Yeah, I remember at Vision we did those fucking crazy Monday night conditioning.
Yeah,
And I did that consistently for however many years I was there, and that shit was fucking hard, man. We were doing like a hour and a half of circuit training of like lifting weights and fucking sprinting and push ups and all this shit. I would go home just aching, and I did that for years. And then there was a short time where I was like trying to lift heavy, just mostly like squats and deadlifts and trying to put weight on the bar. And I did that for a bit, and then I don't know. I just slowly did it less and less until it wasn't there at all. And now I'm like, I don't want to cut out a training session to add in a weight session, so I just don't do it anymore.
when you're done fighting, you see yourself going back to that a little bit just to kind of keep maintain your body, I guess, right?
I think so because I do enjoy it sometimes too. If you get together with a buddy and like go in the gym and fucking lift some heavy shit and
Yeah,
grunt and throw around some weights, it's fun. So yeah, I think I'll do it again in the
yeah.
future.
Just grunt. We just need to go there and grunt. We don't need
Yeah,
to leave. We need to just lift any fucking weights. Let's just go. Let's just go and grunt. No, but that's interesting because like when you talk to a lot of different athletes in a lot of different sports, not a lot of them would say that, or you know what I mean. A lot of them have a big strength and conditioning part to their routine, which makes you unique because you've been super successful without it. So I mean that's a telltale sign. I find this is me personally that the strength and conditioning kind of makes you sore and it
hmm
makes you a little stiff. And
hmm
I mean, in the sport that you're doing, you have to be loose always. And if you have to take an hour to get loose before practice, it's kind of a waste of time.
hmm
And to be and you're quite up to date with the nutrition and the science behind it. You need 48 hours to recover from a hard strength and conditioning session,
hmm
whereas it's not necessarily the same for an MMA session. You know what I mean?
hmm
Especially if you're controlling it with pads and controlling the tempo. Whereas weight training, you're not in. I mean, you are in control, but a 60-pound weight's a 60 fucking pound weight. You either
hmm
lift it or you don't. So at
hmm
the end of the day, like if your shoulders are sore and your legs are fucking tired, good luck doing rounds with some of the beasts that you're doing the next day. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and I'm sure that came into play as you kind of developed too, right?
hmm Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Like I said, I was doing it pretty consistently and kind of slowly just like phased it out, and now I don't see the need for it.
Yeah. And
And
I
like
mean,
there's some guys you see like some like youngsters in the gym like sprawling, they look all like fucking floppy and shit, and like that kid could probably lift some weights, or like the little string bean guy that doesn't have any muscle around his joints, he could probably lift some weights and might
yeah.
like help him for injury prevention. But someone that's like in their prime, they've done it before, they've already lifted, they've already done the conditioning, maybe you don't need it as much.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as I love strength and conditioning and stuff like that, I personally only do it once or twice a week, if that. Uh, Mainly only because, like I've had so many injuries. It's kind of like those are the things I kind of have to work on just to maintain the muscle activation and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. It's a
But
specific scenario.
like I know you were saying you were a beast with the conditioning. You get complimented on your conditioning a lot. How did you get to that point? Like, what are some of the things that you've done? Like, I know that in the past you do tons of running and kind of stuff like that. What are the kind of things that you do to keep that conditioning on point and always exceeding expectations every time you fight?
I think a lot of it is probably training year round and not being a guy that like does camps like in camp and out of camp. Like you see too many guys that are like out of camp and they're training like 2 times a week and putting on 30 pounds, and then their whole camp is them trying to get back in shape and make weight.
Yeah,
So I think like staying in shape year round is a big part of it. Um, Probably the way that I train, like sparring days, I'm going to do like 4 hard rounds at least every sparring day. Wrestling day, I'm going to do maybe like 3 5s and then a bunch of situations. So I think your body just gets like used to the work that you're doing. And if you're doing 5-minute rounds a couple times a week, I think you kind of get used to it as much as you can.
and do you limit your rounds now, like the amount of like live work that you're actually doing, or is that something you're conscious of during your weeks, or is it kind of something you just flow with?
Something I flow with, like it fluctuates for sure. Like not always with like a rhyme or reason. It will fluctuate. There's some weeks I'll spar like 3 times a week. Maybe I'll do that for a few weeks in a row and realize like I'm sparring too much. I'll cut it back a little bit. But I like live work. I think that's how I learn the best. It doesn't have to be like crazy live either, like trying to fuck each other up. But
Yeah.
I think at this point in my career, live work is when I'm gonna learn the most stuff. Like if I'm going with like a high level black belt for jiu rolling live, finding out where I get caught or what I'm doing well. I think that's how I'm learning right now.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that has tons of value to it too. I think like a lot of people underestimate, you know, they like look at jujitsu for example, because I'm a big jujitsu guy. Uh, a lot of the guys they'll slap hands and then they'll fucking sit down and then they'll fucking stare at each other for like 3 minutes
Mhm. Mhm.
and nothing's really happening and then they'll say, okay, I'm ready to go to a tournament. Well, no, you're fucking not. Or no, you're not ready to fight. Like, you have to put yourself, like you said, in those situational
Mhm.
positions. And, like, I think a lot of guys ignore that fact, right?
You need to know what it feels like to have another fucking grown man trying to kill you.
Yeah,
Otherwise, when you're in there and that's happening, you're gonna freak out.
yeah. Or you have to at least consistently do it, from bare minimum once a week, right? You
Yeah.
can't, like, I know a lot of guys just past pandemic who are high level guys. You'll probably know them too, but I'm not going to say their names out of respect. But they weren't sparring or doing any live work.
Mhm.
One because of lockdowns, and two because of they just said fuck it. Well, because of the situation in the world, like I'll do what I can, but I'm not going
Mhm.
to do that. And some of them had great
Okay.
results, and some of them didn't have so other great results.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, like so would you say that that live work that you tend to focus on keeps your reaction and your nervous system kind of on point so that when you do get into that cage, it's nothing is surprising you in terms of your nervous system and stuff like that?
Yeah, 100%, man. I think so. I mean, like you want to replicate the fight as much as possible, and obviously you're not going to go in the gym and lock yourself in the cage with just 4 ounce gloves and no shin guards and like smash each other. But
Yeah,
you got to spar and you got to spar pretty hard and you got to grapple and you got to do it pretty hard and you got to do it pretty consistently.
yeah. And I mean, I think you're totally right. Like, I think most people would be surprised by your strength and conditioning, kind of routine, but I'm not at all because I know a lot of guys who do that, and as long as you're not breaking down, I don't see the
Mm,
problem with it. And
that-
you're eating tons of calories, so like you're not going to be losing like stupid amounts of weight during camp, and so
mhm,
like your body seems to hold up really, really, really well. And
I think so.
yeah, and I mean, I'll let you go soon too, but I wanted to ask you a few more fucking things. What's your favorite? Like when you're fucking done this shit, like when you're done fighting, right? When you're
Mm.
done fighting, do you see yourself continuing to train MMA, or are you just gonna pick like certain parts that you enjoy, more? And what are those ports?
Um, that's a good question. I don't know if I'm done fighting, if I'm gonna like continue to spar. Probably. I mean, it's like it'll probably be hard to give that up, so probably. But I don't know, man. I like it all. I really like grappling. Like I train with Cricket, who's a wrestler, so I've like really um like immersed myself in the wrestling world, so I can see myself doing a lot of that in the future.
Yeah, and like, do you see yourself like? I know a lot of guys in the UFC and Bellator and even other organizations do it. Do you see yourself like hopping in on some of those like Eddie Bravo invitationals and kind of testing yourself in those kind of circles as well?
Yeah, for sure. And there's actually some decent money in that shit now too.
Yeah,
So
I know,
yeah,
I know. That's something I'm looking at to fucking do.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
because that was one of my goals when I decided to hang it up. Is like I wanted to pursue like worlds. You know what I mean,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
get that under my belt. But
Mhm.
I'm also intrigued by the open hand slapping to the fucking face.
Dude, that shit's brutal.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by
It's
it though.
like
Like
more violent than MMA. It looks.
I think so in ways because like you'll see some like like when you want like you fucking cock back to punch somebody on the mat like you can't
Mm,
really get away with that in MMA because if you cock back too far they're out of the position where the
mhm.
open hand slaps allow you to fucking cock back because you're not making the fit you're not it's a different motion you're like the punch
Mhm.
is going down the slap up's
Mm.
coming sideways so
Yeah.
like even if he was to block the slap, you're still in a good position to handle the grappling exchange. So then in ways that slap is fucking way more brutal than the punch.
Yeah, man. It looks nasty.
But the money, like you said, the money's good. Like
It's not bad.
some of these guys are making 10, 15 G's just
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
a super shot. And
Yeah. It's sick.
that's something I'm fucking do. The one thing I won't touch, I'll tell you this right now, I won't touch Muay Thai. Fuck that.
No,
No.
I agree. I think that's what's crazy. Muay Thai and like K1 stuff when they're just like smashing shin on shin and big gloves standing in front of each other, like just eating all the shots, like not really moving their heads.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, like you know Professor Bruckman, right? Out of
Hmm.
Bruckman, like he,
Hmm.
he came back after he retired and did like a Thai fight. No fucking
Hmm.
way. No fucking way. Once I'm,
Uh,
once I decide to stop fucking getting punched in the face, I'm not fucking going to get punched in the face
yeah, not
like
for
that.
me.
Like that's the other thing about Muay Thai is like if you get rocked, you're fucked. You got to fight back. Whereas like in MMA, at least you can shit. You can pull guard if you wanted to, or you
Yeah,
can
dive
like
for the hips,
dive for
whatever.
the head, clinch, and just hold.
Yeah,
But I can see like when for guys like us when we're fucking done, I can see us like saying, "Oh no, we're just gonna do casual sparring once in a
yeah,
while." You know,
for sure.
Like Rocky and Apollo did at the end of that fucking movie,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
closed gym, occasional sparring. But yeah,
Beat each other up a little bit. Why not?
yeah, and one more before I go, before I let you go, because I know you like those 9 hours of sleep, getting that sleep in.
I do.
But who are you looking for when you get into that Bellator cage? Like, what is the which guys are you looking forward to competing against the most right away?
Dude, I said the same thing like before Contender Series. People are like, who do you want in the UFC? What's your dream matchup? And I'll say the same answer, man. I want to beat up like the shittiest guy that they'll give me because my contract is the same no matter who I fight. If I fight Yo Romero or if I fight some dude that's fucking 0-2 in Bellator and about to get cut, I'm getting the same amount of money.
Yeah,
So I'd rather fight that scrub and get like a sick knockout or submission and like go viral than have a tough ass fight against Yo Romero and maybe only get half my paycheck.
yeah. Well, that's the fucking smart answer. That's what I like to hear because too many guys will say, "Oh, we'll take on the best guy in the fucking world." No,
Yeah,
that's stupid. And I like that
yeah,
answer, and more people should fucking follow suit with that because that's what a smart thinking person says right there. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Because at the end of the day, you're right. You are getting paid the same amount no matter who you get. So you basically just take those. I wouldn't say easy fights. That's not the
Who
right word.
fights at this level, but
Yeah,
the more easy fight that I can get for sure.
yeah, and I mean, hey, there you go. Aaron Jeffrey wants to fuck up whoever wants to get
Scrub.
cut. Scrub. Scrub. If you don't want to get cut from Bellator, fight Aaron Jeffrey because he's gonna get you cut after he beats your ass.
Exactly though.
Anyway, brother, I appreciate you taking the time to do
Yeah,
this.
man.
It was a pleasure. And and I don't know if you're looking for anybody to work with, but if anybody wants to work with you nutritionally wise, where can they find you, and how can they kind of reach out to you for that?
Yeah, everywhere my MMA shit is AAJ MMA, and then it will link to my other nutrition stuff too. It's Jeffery Nutrition.
Awesome. And let me tell you, everybody, firsthand, the fucking guy knows his nutrition, knows how to get people slim and get rid of that fat. Look at him. He's a fucking ripped and doesn't lift weights. He's ripped and he doesn't lift weights, guys. Anyway, brother, thank you for doing
Thank you,
this.
brother.
And best of luck whenever that first fight is in Bellator. I'll be watching and we'll be rooting for you, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
No problem.
Hey,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you for watching. Please do me a favor. Click the like below. Share on YouTube. Share on Instagram. Share on Facebook. Spread the word so I can keep creating more content for you. Keep providing you with a great podcast experience. Peace out.